Very much welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this day. Today we are celebrating education heroes in challenging times. On this, the digital journey of National Teachers Colleges in Uganda. My name is Cohens Mugisha, a student of National Teachers College, Unyama, presenting this on behalf of Enabel in Uganda and the TTE project. And let's just get started. Now, the TTE project, we may be wondering, in part of our story that we are going to share today, we are going to look at the Teacher Training Education Project. And what does it do? All this will come in our story. And basically, we are going to look at that this was established to reinforce teacher training education in Uganda. That is basically in the first part of the story. So the Teacher Training Education Project, as earlier said, was established to reinforce teacher training education in Uganda. And you may be wondering, what is TTE project? In this, the TTE project is implemented in the 5 national teachers colleges and 21 partner secondary schools. Very amazing. As you can see this beautiful map of the Pearl of Africa, those are the NTCs. But secondly, it is also key to note that it is implemented by the Ministry of Education and Sports and Enabel with Belgian and Ugandan funding. Let's continue with the story. Also, the TTE project has 3 main components, and these 3 main components, as I'm going to elaborate below, have specific focuses. Now, the first component of this project is infrastructure. It is very important to note that it is key for institutions of learning to have very good infrastructure. So it focuses on rehabilitation and extension of existing infrastructure in the 5 NTCs. But secondly, another component is institutional development. So this focuses on improving management practices by promoting digital transformation. We've had college administrations learning and practicing best financial digital management systems. So this is also another component. But most interestingly is the third component of pedagogy. So under this, we have capacity development for teacher training, where we have focus on development of teaching and training, and therefore this takes us to the next part of our story. Now, what does TTE do? So the TTE, or the Teacher Training Education, does the following. 1, we design, looking at composition and looking at methodology in teaching and learning. But secondly, we also build, looking at construction, rehabilitation, to ensure that the teaching and learning environment is well equipped and very favorable for teaching and learning. But thirdly, we also equip, looking at both soft and hands-on skills, and then training, which encompasses a lot of things to do with teaching and learning. But also, lastly, we also share. So the component of sharing, we believe that there is power in sharing knowledge, skills, and best practices. So this happens through some of the various activities, as we are going to share with you in part of this story. Let's continue with the story. Now, in the second part of this story, after looking at TTE, we want to look at the trigger. What has been the trigger? We will know that COVID-19, since it's coming, that was unprecedented in March 2020, it hit a lot of sectors, and the education sector was not left alone. And in this story, we are going to share with you how COVID-19 has been the trigger to use digitalization in national teachers colleges. So let's continue to talk about digitalization in NTCs. Now, the Teacher Training in Uganda timeline. We are glad also to share with you the timeline of teacher training education in Uganda. In history, in 1986, there was establishment of national teachers colleges. Later in 1992, curriculum development happened, but this was predominantly theoretical teaching. In 2011, support from TTE focusing on 2 NTCs yet happened. And later in 2017, still support from the TTE extended to the 5 NTCs. That was a great achievement, from 2 NTCs in 2011 to 5 NTCs in 2017. And later, in March 2020, as we all know, COVID-19 struck and it left all schools closed here in Uganda. And for your information, here in Uganda, over 15 million young people were left home. And here our focus as TTE, with the intervention of TTE in this process, from 2011, there is need to focus on active teaching and learning to so much bring in a robust transformation from the formerly theoretical teaching to active teaching and learning. But secondly, in 2017, it was also realized that it is very pertinent for us to focus on school practice and ICT in teaching and learning. Now, we also would like to share with you support from the TTE project, how TTE project supports NTCs and the partner secondary schools. And in this, we are going to share it at two levels. One, prior to the to school closure or before COVID-19, and then later, after schools closed, what could have happened. In the middle there is the lockdown that was caused by the COVID-19 crisis. Now, before or prior to school closure, these are some of the activities or the support that we are offering to our partners and the NTCs. One is active teaching and learning. We are also focusing on ICT in teaching and learning, and then school practice. So school practice here in Uganda is that when student teacher trainees go through their courses, both in their first year, they get a chance to go into secondary schools and be in class to practice what they have been learning, and then they are supervised, and it's also a kind of exam that is assessed, and it also contributes to their final mark when they are completing their course. That is it. And then later we had COVID-19 that hit us hard. But after closure of schools, there was hopelessness. Students were disillusioned, and we really hoped that there couldn't be any hope for us to study again. But thank God, with the intervention of TTE, there were efforts to ensure continuity of learning in national teachers' colleges. Very important. And you may be wondering how perhaps we came to continue with learning. There was development of the TTE SANDBOX. It was a great move, a very great move. But let me continue with part of this story. Now, the TTE SANDBOX, you may be wondering what kind of animal is the TTE SANDBOX. So this was the starting point to ensure continuity of learning. With the TTE SANDBOX, the project aims to improve content and processes in the national teachers' colleges by trying different education technologies as a fast-track response. I repeat, as a fast-track response, because COVID-19 came unprecedented. It was very important for TTE to intervene and make sure that learners and students do not skip their critical stages. For example, those that were almost finishing their course. So that kind of intervention was very necessary, and that is when the TTE SANDBOX came in. Let's continue to talk about the TTE SANDBOX. Now, the TTE SANDBOX has 5 key sandcastles that we will also like to share with you, and you'll be interested in some of these and wonder how they really happen. Now, one, we have the help desk. So the help desk in this sense is where we have a peer-to-peer support system with NTC lecturers who excel at ICT to support their peers. And this is very incredible. We've seen a lot of collaboration work through. And from this kind of help desk, we have communities of practice. So under this castle, we have, through video conferencing, we have introduced our staff to education technologies. So lecturers and lecturers from all the NTCs meet together to share about digital best practices and how best to blend digitalization in education. And then another castle here is of lessons development. So a way after sharing, where we have teachers equipped with best knowledge on how best to do screencasts and create content, then they develop lessons, of which this has helped students to continue learning because they can access this content in all forms. You may be wondering how perhaps the learners or we come to access this content. And this leads us to the last castle of the TTE Sandbox, which is the one-stop portal. Very amazing. And this was one of the biggest milestones that we can be proud to tell in this story. So the one-stop portal has helped to make resources and learning materials for staff and students very accessible, that students can go on to download content from this one-stop portal, and they can read, they can watch, they can listen to the podcasts at any time, anywhere, provided they have internet. One other key thing about this is that this one-stop portal was zero-rated by MTN Uganda, which is a telecom company here in Uganda. So students do not need a lot of data, do not need to have data if they are using this particular line. Very interesting. Now, let's continue with our story. We are going to take a look inside the TTE Sandbox, giving focus on distance learning opportunities for student-teacher trainees. As you can see from these picture scenes, you will realize that there is a lot of peer-to-peer, and you will realize that there is power in digitalization, but also supported by peer-to-peer strategies. Now, let's also look at distance learning opportunities for student teachers. What are some of these opportunities that have come through in the TTE Sandbox? So one is the ICT masterclasses. So these are weekly practical sessions on how to use ICT tools in education. So through these sessions, we've been able to have all teachers, so all lecturers and teacher trainees from all the colleges meet together and share best practices, share soft skills, but also students have been also encouraged to do tasks and they are assessed, and we have seen great improvement. But secondly, we have the GTM e-learning course. So the GTM learning course is the General Teaching Methods course. This is the very first online course in teacher training in Uganda. What a milestone. The very first online course for teacher trainees in Uganda. Continuing with our story, also still looking at inside the TTE Sandbox and opportunities for student teacher trainees, we have digital lessons. So about digital lessons, these have been developed by lecturers in the format of screencasts, ebooks, and podcasts that they cater for all learners' needs. Both the audio, the visual, audio-visual learners are able to learn from these lessons. But this has happened because there has been a lot of capacity building and knowledge sharing, that lecturers know how to create these digital lessons. Now, another important opportunity is looking at lecturers as role models. So lecturers are as role models in this sense. We are looking at modeling in the use of edu-technology. For instance, as a student, I was so much inspired looking at some of my lecturers that I really thought they could not, coming on and starting to upload and create, for example, screencasts. Seeing my lecturer teaching me literature using a screencast and podcasts was very inspirational, and it encouraged me to emulate the same and be able to integrate this in my daily teaching and learning. So lecturers being seen as role models is one of the key things as to why we say they are education heroes. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I would also like to interest you in this. We have findings. There has been a study, an e-learning readiness study conducted by Ipsos in December 2020. And in this, we are going to share mainly about students' participation in distance learning during school closure. As you can see from these graphical presentations, it is going to be amazing what these findings really bring to our table. Now, looking at the graphical presentations, from the findings that we have, it shows that 62% of the students participated in distance learning, while 38 did not. That tells you that there is still a gap. It is very amazing. We are going to be fascinated, but also get shocked. So that tells you that there is still a gap. But secondly, in participation in distance learning was found to be higher among female students with 65% than male students, who stand at 60%. And with those gaps, we believe we could be able to bridge them if at all we get out of our comfort zones and continue to embrace digitalization in education. Ladies and gentlemen, continuing with the findings about this readiness study, we could be having reasons. However much we appreciate, as students we were so much helped, we were not left alone during that time when schools were closed and everyone was crying. It was a very, very good move and intervention by the TTE to bring in distance learning strategies. However, as any other journey, we have had stumbling blocks. What accounts for the 38% of the students that did not engage in long distance learning? So here are some of the key reasons from the report that we have. Now, the biggest percentage of 47% account for lack of materials or tools. Quite absurd, but of course it is real. When you talk about tools here, we are looking at items like laptops, smartphones, and computers. And then the second category of these people who did not participate, also the reason is that they had no data or limited data bundles. So this also accounts for 26%. Another category also, or another reason here that we have in this report is poor internet connectivity, and this is at 15%. From any other like remote countries like Uganda, it could be difficult for some areas to have very stable connectivity to allow learners to connect and be able to study online. And lastly, another last reason is that there is lack of information. There is information gap or communication gap. Even when students could be having gadgets, maybe they have the data and connectivity is stable, some of them lack information. So that informs us that information is very key in ensuring that everyone is in the process. So some of these things, would result as a result of maybe lack of communication from lecturers, because we are using WhatsApp, so at a point students would lack information. However, to continue with our story, we still believe that our education heroes are these: the students and the teachers in the national teachers colleges in Uganda are our education heroes, and we celebrate them gleefully. Ladies and gentlemen, let's continue moving in this story. So in this third phase of our story, we are going to share about our digital journey and to tell you that our digital journey continues. Yes, there is where we have reached, but still there is where we would like to be. And in this, we are going to be sharing on the use of digitalization in education as the new standard in the national teachers colleges. We must tell you that in this journey, we are going to share something brief. Maybe a moment of reflection. Have you known that some journeys take you further from where you come from, but closer to where you belong? I would like you to reflect on this. I would like to repeat it. Some journeys take you further from where you come from, but closer to where you belong. As TTE, as National Teachers Colleges, and our partner secondary schools, we believe that we have come from far, and in this world of digitalization in education is where we belong, and we are not ready to go back. Let's continue with our journey. Now, with COVID-19 as a crisis, whether it is or it may not in the future, there are things that will still remain with us. And you may be wondering, what are some of these things? One, the development of distance learning lessons. We are committed and we believe that these are lessons, long distance learning lessons will continue to be developed and be uploaded on the various learning management systems so that learning continues even amidst crises beyond COVID-19. But secondly, we also think that our ICT skills will also continue to be amongst the learners and the lecturers, both the soft and hands-on, to be used in the teaching and learning process, both inside and outside classroom situations. Another aspect that will remain with us is mindset and motivation. It was really amazing that from nowhere, students, amidst every other challenges that they have, that they were able to embrace digitalization. They were able to embrace and continue being motivated through attending ICT masterclasses, and this was very wonderful of them. And another thing here is the help desk peer support system. We cannot despise the power of teams, and teamwork is one of the strongholds that can help us overcome some of these challenges. We believe that when we work together and support each other, we believe we will trek this journey to the very end and we shall reap good fruits. Lastly, on the things that will remain with us even beyond COVID-19, the masterclasses and communities of practice. So we shall continue to support and help conduct these activities to bring together students and lecturers so as we be able to navigate through this together. Ladies and gentlemen, as we move forward, I earlier told you that there is where we have reached, but there is where still we want to be. And you may be wondering, where is that? So our next destination, 1, technology enhanced learning course. Yes, we have had the GTM, the general teaching methods, but we believe this technology enhanced learning course is going to be an open and free learning course for both NTC staff, students, teachers, and also the partner secondary schools. Our second destination is the educational hackathons, or EduHacks. We believe that through these hackathons we'll be able to motivate and spark creativity, innovation in education. And then thirdly, we also have learning management system. Yes, we've had other efforts being made to have learning management system, but we believe that this is going to be a more robust and more effective learning management system that will increase access to information and learning resources in a very swift and easy way for both the lecturers and the student teachers. Ladies and gentlemen, going forward to our next destination, there is also a program of ICT device leasing scheme. So this is going to help us to increase access and ownership to gadgets, as we realize that one of the biggest barriers in this digitalization in education was access to gadgets. So this scheme is going to start with students, aiming at least ensuring that all students have access and own smartphones, and from there it may go to tablets and later to laptops at a later stage. We believe that this is going to help the learners be able to have full access to information and be able to be part of the journey. Our other next destination is the digital hub. So the digital hub, this is going to be a space in our setup that will be having a lot of ICT facilities to include conference rooms, creative rooms, and then this will also, we believe, is going to help our learners to arrange, for example, hackathons and any other digital challenges, but also it will be having a library to help learners both the staff and the learners to have access to information that they may need. Going forward with our journey. Yes, as we come almost to the end of our journey, it is important that we share with you some of the key takeaways. What would you like to take away from our story as TTE and Enabel in Uganda? What we have learned during our digital journey. In terms of participation, we have realized that involving students is very pertinent. Get students on board to join the digital journey. We believe that when we involve people in problems, they also help in creating solutions altogether. But second factor under participation is to motivate. Through hackathons, challenges, boot camps, and other events, we believe this could spur innovation and invention, but also help motivate and build esteem amongst lecturers and the teacher trainees, that they can be able to do things on their own, but also inspire others to do the same. And another kind of magic in this is peer support. To set up a peer-to-peer support system, that this will help to sustain some of these strategies, that they will not end on a certain generation, but with peer-to-peer support systems, we believe that with such efforts, we'll be able to reach far and wide. Another aspect under the lessons that we have learned is on mindset. Mindset is very critical in the process. It is important that we be a role model, walk the digital talk, and inspire others to do that. We believe that in this, for example, as I shared with you, me in the first place, I was really hopeless as a student, but later after seeing the TTE SANDBOX and then opening, and I would see my lecturers doing what they were doing, and I was inspired. I was like, yes, if my lecturers can do this, if they are up to help us during this difficult time, then I should do the same when time comes. And this is very important. And then secondly is to explore and discover. Wonderful. The digital world is for us to explore and discover. It is not until we get out of our comfort zones that we'll be able to cross that bridge and get to exploit everything and make it a possibility. So try and explore. It is okay to fail, but this is part of the learning process. So no matter the challenges, please, let's keep pushing. As we continue, I would also like to interest you on accessibility. Some of the lessons on accessibility. Focus on smartphones. Smartphones are the most accessible and affordable devices for students. It could be here in Uganda, but also each country really knows what works best for them. But let's focus on that. And then secondly, also under accessibility is offline access. This is to cater for connectivity issues in remote areas. For example, where I come from, it is very difficult that network will be unstable, but if we can continue to increase and create spaces for offline resources to enable students to learn at any time or anywhere without the stress of connectivity issues, that will be a very good move for us. Ladies and gentlemen, as here comes the end of our story, and we really want to thank you for your audience. To us, as TTE Project, Enabel in Uganda, we would like to assure you that yes, COVID-19 is there, it is a crisis, but if we get together and play with those that are concerned, we'll be able to overcome, because the journey does not stop here. Let's continue trekking and we'll overcome it all. I thank you and wish you good luck.